Cosby or I don't know, these old
Yeah.
Griffin's Christmas specials. So what I did here, what I was, because I want this to be fun and upbeat. It's Christmas Eve. This will air at midnight on Christmas Day.
Nice.
Also air noon on Saturday and Christmas Eve. And so I was thinking, let's pretend kind of like we're hanging out by the fire and we're just catching up and talking
Yeah.
stories and all that kind of thing. So I recorded kind of a cheesy opening.
Yeah.
I want to not to embarrass either one of you, but like to pretend like, hey, I'm welcoming in the listener, and then come sit down by the fire with Melissa and Mariel and I and Richard.
Yeah,
And then
That's cool.
yeah, so we'll play it in the beginning here and you'll hear it. So it
Yeah.
kind of sets that tone of like an old school
cool.
Yeah,
old school
that's
TV
it.
or Christmas Eve special.
Let's go here.
And by the way, thank you both for doing this.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. That
No,
has-
we both were like, oh my God, that'd be
Well
fun.
received for
Okay.
Christmas Eve.
I'm looking at something here. Just a moment. Okay, that's what I want out. Okay, if we are ready, I will roll this, and
So
we'll
Richard,
start.
yeah. So Richard's gonna roll the opening. I already pre-recorded. It's only like a minute.
Yeah.
And then excuse me, and then I'll do your intro with your bios, and then
Right.
we'll pick up the recording.
Okay.
You'll figure it out.
All right, here we go.
And this is
Oh, hi there. Come in, come in. Let me shut that door. Boy, it sure is cold out there. Really feels like Christmas Eve, doesn't it? Please join me and my friends. We're wearing our Out Comes the Sun matching onesies. We're having a little cocoa and we're sharing our favorite stories of gratitude from the past year. That's Mariel Hemingway over there in the big chair by the fire. Oh, and her best friend, Melissa Yamaguchi. Oh, you know Dr. D, Richard Dugan. He's over under the tree. Richard, don't peek at your presents. Here's some nice hot cocoa. Let me know if you need a few more marshmallows. Now, where were we? Ah, yes. Being grateful. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Mariel and Melissa. Welcome, Mariel and Melissa. Coco.
I just laughed. It was the best ever.
So great.
I feel so warm and toasty here by the fire.
Hemingway. What do you call it? The Hemingway compound, the ranch, what is? Or do you have a name for?
We call it really cold right now. It was 11 below this morning. So, we're wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to take on the day.
And what a great way to end, right? Christmas Eve to spend with the two of you. It's been too long.
It has been.
Yeah, and it's just nice to sit by the fire here with you and just talk a little bit here. And thank you
Absolutely.
for joining us here on Christmas Eve. Let me tell you a little bit about Mariel Hemingway, you don't know, but I'll pretend anyway that you need to know. Founder and the president of the Mariel Hemingway Foundation, and she's the host of the hit podcast, Out Comes the Sun. Over the past 20 plus years, Mariel has worked extensively in the mental health and wellness world. She has been exposed to some of the most exciting and advanced treatments, centers, and therapists during that time. She's also met with amazing research scientists on the advancement of help in the space of mental health and hundreds of people who suffer from mental illness. She has felt their frustration firsthand and just not knowing where to go, which treatment to try, and who to ask for help. So her goal when founding the Mariel Hemingway Foundation was and is to become a resource navigator for people with questions who need help. Mariel Hemingway Foundation's mission is to compassionately assist individuals in navigating mental health treatment by providing a template to find real concrete solutions that can be tailored to meet the unique needs of individual communities. We've agreed tonight that our phones will stay put away. But when you are online next, check out Mariel Hemingway's foundation at marielhemingwayfoundation.org. And also check out her podcast, Out Comes the Sun. It addresses mental, physical, and spiritual wellness. All right, now Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hey there.
He's co-founder and vice president, and also the co-host of the hit podcast with Mariel, Out Comes the Sun. And she's a co-founder and vice president, I should say, of the Mariel Hemingway Foundation. She has twice served as a judge on the Global Best Entrepreneurial Leadership event sponsored by the Anderson School of Business at UCLA. Own Your Energy, Own Your Life is the name of her blog on the Huffington Post. She has given lectures all over the world for the past 20 years on the balance of the individual through the 4,000-year-old practice of Feng Shui. Her TED Talk, Beyond Vision and Purpose, is all about understanding the choices you make in life. We call her the Oracle. So if you forget Melissa, just go. She goes by the Oracle. She answers to both. But it's late and it's Christmas Eve, and we are feeling nostalgic. I don't know about you, but we're feeling nostalgic here tonight, and we're feeling very grateful. The conversation won't be too heavy, I promise. We're going to have some fun together on Christmas Eve, because we've all made it one more time around the sun.
That's right.
We are here together to talk about that long journey. I'm a firm believer that mental health starts with gratitude and stepping back, being able to step back and actually look back at the good things in your life right in front of you, or things that you've experienced, and really pinpoint those and think about them and slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the best of your experiences and the people you have met along the way. How about you two? Mariel, how important is it to remember for you the good times, the good things in your life? How important is that to you in your daily health?
Well, I think it's one of the key ingredients, if you will, to starting your day. I mean, Melissa and I talk about it all the time. Like, how do you start your day? And one of the most important things you can do is just start by saying thank you. Thank yourself. Thank the people that you love and your family around you. Thank this beautiful planet that we live on, which is constantly being challenged by the human beings that do all kinds of crazy stuff, So, but be grateful for everything in your life, everything. And when you start your day that way, there's something about that bleeds into every aspect of your life, like all of a sudden opportunities show. I mean, you showed up and we hadn't spoken in so long. And, I really believe that intention of gratitude really leads you on a path to your highest destiny, if you will. That's how a little woo-woo, but Melissa, you can bring me down.
The Oracle and the anger.
I mean, Melissa, I want to hear, I think the two of you have such a unique relationship, and I've witnessed it, and I'm actually going to tell a little story in a moment about what I've witnessed and how you interact with each other. I am paying attention all the time, whether or not I look like it, and I know I don't look like it. But I really do. There's something really powerful between the two of you. The tape did not slow down, and my thoughts were. There's something really unique about the two of you. You probably both know that already. That's why you're together and you're doing the podcast and doing all the amazing things you're doing with your foundation. But and I think I've asked you this question in the past, maybe, Mariel, because it sounds so easy to say, just wake up with good intentions and be grateful. But why is it so hard to do that? You've got it. That's a practice. That's almost like exercise or the yoga that you
Absolutely.
do at sunrise, right? That grounding down. It's hard. Why is that hard? And going the negative is so darn
Easy.
easier. Yeah. What is
Well,
wrong with our
you
wiring?
know, and I know, Melissa, you're going to address this too, but you know, the thing about anything that we do in our lives, you have to have a discipline first, and then a dedication to wanting to start your day. So some days are, some days are tough. Sometimes you sit and meditate. I meditate every day, and some days I just sit there, mind is racing, things are going on. It's the holidays, it's whatever. But even in the doing of that practice, of finding stillness within the chaos of your brain, that trains the brain and actually over time calms the brain. And then all of a sudden you'll have a day that's extraordinary. Now, what I love about what Melissa does is that because she works with energy, she talks about energy, you really realize on those days that you feel completely like off the mark, she can explain, the energy is probably low for a certain aspect of you. So maybe you could explain that, Melissa, because I think there is an interesting, like some days are tough, and you really know this because energy is constantly moving and swirling on the planet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're the greatest conduits of energy. And so to answer your question you'd asked a while ago about why is it so hard to get up and have this discipline of gratitude, why is it easier to kind of get into complaining and critiquing and judging? I think probably the exertion, the muscle that is required for complaining is minimal. And I think the muscle exertion, if you will, for exercising and getting up and doing the right thing and making a concerted effort and having your rituals and staying true to the plan and not going off requires a control, organized energy that can be exhausting. But once you get into the rhythm of it, as we all know, your body starts to crave it. You start to crave working out. You crave the water. You crave the sleep, whatever it is. But yeah, what Mariel was saying about energy is that each of us, I always call it your energetic DNA. So you're born, you take that first breath, and that's the time that's recorded of when you're born. And as the energy is emanating from this earth and you have absorbed it on that first breath, I believe it places an energetic thumbprint on who you are, how you respond to the energy around you. All four of us could walk into a room and have different responses. One of us could say, boy, I did not feel good in there. My stomach was tense. I didn't get a good vibe off the people. And that one of us could say, oh, I thought it was great. And by the way, the crudité was excellent. Whatever's happening, each one of us has a different response, and none of us are wrong because it is how it affected each of us. And so every day, the best thing you can do for yourself, aside from the water and the sleep and the sun and all the shoulds, is really do a temperature take, a pulse take, if you will, on how you're feeling. And one of the 3 E's of gratitude, the first is emote. You have to check in with your feelings. You have to understand where you're coming from. But many of us are kind of going through rote memorization of our day and just going through the motion, clock in, do the job, get home, turn on the tube, whatever we're doing, pour the drink. We're not extending ourselves. Checking in with our emotions should be first and foremost. How am I feeling? How do I feel strong today? Mariel and I talk every morning, as best friends are wont to do. And we, on our walks, our respective walks, we speak. And this morning, transparently, I said to her, oh, I'm dragging. My energy's low today. And it is energetically low today, based on the year that I'm born. I said, boy, I can feel it. I'm really having to rev myself up. So those of us who preach and espouse the benefits of gratitude and living this focused life are not without our own handicaps and stains. We all have to push through it. It is a daily effort, but we know that the outcome is so much greater than the alternative.
Yeah, and those are really great points. Checking in with your energy for the day. You are, that seems so simple. I know I can feel the different energies I have from sometimes from that by the hour, the energy that I'm experiencing. And I really didn't think about it, checking in with it and then realizing what your limitations probably could be that day or that afternoon, or what you can handle. And sometimes I'm exhausted and I go, if I open that email, I know there's going to be something in there that's going to bum me out, and then I'm going to
Right.
out of control. So stay away from it until
That's exactly right.
Right.
Jeremiah, I tell this to people when I'm working with my clients. I tell them all the time, when you know you're low, when you feel that your energy is taking a dip and you're just not in the mood, even the cat's meow kind of gets on your nerves, whatever's happening, for the love of God, do not open the text from that one friend that grates you. Don't pick up the call from your sister who's going to annoy you. Push back. A little self-care is better for everyone in the long run. Trust me.
I'm going to tell my story now then, if you don't mind, because that's a perfect layout. You just laid it up perfectly. The two of you, what I noticed and what I admire about the two of you, it's been a couple of years since we've seen each other. The last time we saw each other, that we all met and we had a show, almost 3 hours, two different shows, where Mariel and Anne Heche talked about mental health and experiences that they'd gone through in life. And I never told you this, but and it's taken a year or so for it to slowly appear and me realize what happened. But we went directly afterwards over to the Santa Barbara Bowl, and we did energy was pretty high, and we started a tour. And about halfway through the tour, the two of you almost didn't say anything. I was behind you and watching, and it was almost an eye communication. And you stepped aside a little bit, and then you said, we're going to head back down the coast. It's been a long day. And I think that with Mariel, this is just my observation. It took a toll. You put everything out there, which you do every day for people around the world, most that you never know heard your message. You with the foundation and who you are, you're open to the world and your emotions and your advice, but you're one person, and that takes a lot of energy. And you guys left that day, and I haven't seen you since. Well, later that night, I went to dinner with Anne and Heather, and it manifested itself in a different way. Through the dinner, Anne became very emotional and broke down and cried, and but didn't talk about what you guys have both been through together that day. So as the year has progressed, I've thought you both were so unselfish, and you put your soul out there in a way, you put your heart out there, and it took a toll that day, and maybe for days after, I don't know, but I could see it from you. I could see it from her. And I just thought, what I love and admire and wanted to point out was that about the two of you, Melissa and Mariel, is that you knew your limits that day, and you knew you had to go and regroup or whatever went through, whatever you had to do. But your friend Melissa saw it before you said it, and then knew to be there for you to get away. That's how my interpretation was of it. And I've seen that interaction between the two of you, which is why I think you're so great together and what you're trying to accomplish right now with the foundation, the Mariel Hemingway Foundation, and with the podcast. So I just wanted to say thank you for what you gave that day for the show. Because
that's a beautiful kind of insight to that day, because that's exactly what happened, right? I remember that, Melissa. Now,
oh yeah,
I mean, I hadn't thought about it, but we do that often. We have an unspoken sort of communication that happens. And, Melissa, you can perhaps say that it's like this, it's probably energetic. I don't know what it is. I mean, if you believe in past lives or something like that, maybe we've just been here many times together, but there is kind of, and that's what's wonderful about relationship, whether it's relationship and friendship. I had a wonderful, we had a wonderful thing. Jeremiah and I I was just, every time I was on your show, I was like, oh my God, that was the most fun.
Great.
We went deep, and you never knew where it was going. And there's like that unspoken thing that happens with energy and with energetics with people that is so,
right.
I mean, talk about something to be grateful for. Because when that happens, I mean, every day that we have our conversations, walking, we enlighten each other and aha moments. And I was so glad that, although you were dragging this morning, Melissa, to be there for you, because yesterday I had a really rough morning, and she, God bless her, she walked me through it. And I was like, oh, like I was having a moment. But, when you hold space for somebody to have that moment, there's nothing like it.
It's invaluable.
True. Yeah, that is true giving, which is gratitude.
If I may,
Part of it.
yeah, and Mariel, if I may, I don't want to assume too much, but you're Mariel Hemingway, and the life that you've lived, you know that, right? You're Mariel. Just in case you didn't know.
Well, it's actually funny that you say that, because sometimes I don't know.
Well,
Bobby will say that to me. He'll go, dude, you're Mariel Hemingway. And I'm like, what? I mean, like it's almost like, saying a word too many times and it doesn't sound like a word.
yeah, right. All right,
What was that?
come from. No, but you're Mariel Hemingway, who has lived the Hemingway life, the Mariel Hemingway life, your own life in your own way, with so many ups and downs. But everybody probably wants a piece at different times, sometimes more than others. It would be hard, probably, I would imagine, to know who is real and who is not in your life. And then again, it is even we all know that the people that you can count on in life, throughout life, are really, really small. So again, I just wanted to, this is a compliment to Melissa, that she sees you, I think, and it's obvious that that means something, that there's that really strong connection. And I just love seeing it, because I think it's very rare. It's like it's like, I don't know what, but seeing something rare in life, you don't see it very often. And
Right.
I didn't mean to go too far into that, but it brings me to a question, which is it kind of leads us back to the beginning here, and then I think I need to take a break at the beginning of our conversation, in that it's an intention when you wake up to you choose the mood. Maybe you don't choose the mood or the energy, but you choose how you handle the challenges that come at you. And
Well, you can always choose the intention. That's clear. You can always say, my intention is whatever. Sorry, didn't mean to
that,
but I did.
And I was just, this is the question, I guess, is that is also maybe one of the ingredients to all of this, surrounding yourself with people that not just get you, but that believe the same things and are striving. Is that?
Well, can I tackle that one?
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if they need to exactly approach everything the same, because I think there's a lot of fun and growth in exploring different ideas and people with different approaches and ideas. However, I think one of the key components to being able to move forward with any gratitude is being surrounded by people who do support and uplift and are positive. If I were a Debbie Downer and, well, I don't know, Mariel, I don't think you should do that. And how's it going to look? You're Mariel Hemingway. If I did this to her all the time and I didn't push her and just say, you've got this. I mean, I'm her cheerleader. And it's not coming from any false position. Mariel knows I'm not good at faking it too much, but so I come to her with, I do believe this. I say the same thing to her, like, excuse me, you're Mariel Hemingway. You're not putting up with that crap. And she's like, oh, okay. Because she never comes from that. She's probably one of the most genuine people I know. And I do want to say something about friendships and relationships. This relationship in particular that Mariel and I have is unique in that we found it later in life. We weren't friends when we were teenagers. We weren't friends when we were in our early 20s or 30s. We met in our 50s. And we have recognized something, and maybe because we had gone through so many trials and tribulations of other relationships in our lives, were we able to see you and each other and just go, oh man, aren't you a clear glass of water? This is going to be easy, because both of us are kind of vibrating on the same idea of how life should be. Our approaches are somewhat different. Our viewpoints on some things are different, but our whole core focus on life is not to be taken for granted. This is an amazing thing, and we're going to maximize it and optimize it as much as we can. And that is the glue. And by the way, gratitude is known as the social glue. Once we express gratitude for other people and appreciation for where he or she are coming, that's what glues us together in spite of our differences. So Mariel and I have that glue, so to speak, that really binds us together in our whole drive towards where we're going in life. And it's the key to the success of our relationship.
Mariel Hemingway and Melissa Yamaguchi, Dr. D and me are all hanging out today and talking gratitude. One of the things I'm grateful for, my church, I said in the last program, is my church's music, and putting the soundtrack together for today's show. I went back to Dave Matthews Band. His last album was called Come Tomorrow, and I thought it was a perfect title for what we're talking about. He also, all the songs are really positive, and that puts me, if I'm in a bad mood, a song or a songwriter or an upbeat song can really put me in the right mood and help my outlook. And anyway, so I'm calling the show. It's our Christmas Eve special. We're hanging out with Mariel Hemingway and Melissa Yamaguchi again. I'm calling the show Come Tomorrow. Out Comes the Sun is Mariel Hemingway's podcast for addressing mental, physical, and spiritual wellness. Mariel is a lifelong advocate for healthy living and addressing mental health. Mariel welcomes industry experts, professionals, men and women, to her podcast to discuss and reveal products, treatments, and stories, both storied and new. Join Mariel Hemingway and co-host Melissa Yamaguchi every Thursday on Out Comes the Sun. Donate to the Mariel Hemingway Foundation on Venmo at MH Foundation. And Mariel Hemingway's foundation mission is to assist in navigating mental health treatment and to find solutions to meet the needs of individual communities. Find out more at marielhemingwayfoundation.org. We'll be right back.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back. We are with Mariel Hemingway. I would take that you want to say your old friend, but you don't. I don't want to say an old friend. But you're an old friend. There's got to be a better way to say that. I don't know what.
There's got to be a better way of saying that.
Nobody ever likes that introduction, right?
Well, I would
I would like for you to refer to me as a refreshingly young friend.
My refreshingly young friend that I've known a little while.
But I will tell you that a great line from one of song by Harry Chapin talks about old friends are not necessarily better than, but it's the lyric, the new friends, because the old friends, they know where you've been. And from that standpoint of an old friend, not in terms of age, but in terms of the maturity, if you will, of the relationship, the connection of the relationship. And that's the beauty of, if we can continue to use the phrase old friend, that's the beauty and the wonder and the loveliness. I mean, I can honestly say that I've known my best friend from grade school, high school, and college for over 50 years. I mean, it's like, wow, that's so cool to say. But I would say old friend is just fine when you think of it in that context. Old friends, they know where you've been.
I like that. That works.
Yeah, just hopefully they don't have any pictures or evidence. They know where you've been.
By the way, can I throw one more thing out in terms of the male perspective on this whole issue of creating a safe space? How do you counsel, especially male caregivers, shall we call them, supporters, to keep them from trying to fix the other person instead of just being there for the other person?
Well, that is definitely a male-female dynamic. I mean, and Melissa, you can speak to this probably more succinctly than me, but that there is that male-like desire to fix things, right? Bobby does it all the time. You know, you're emotional, I'm crying, whatever. And he's heard this before, but I told you last month that, you do A, B, C, and D, and you don't have the problem anymore. That's not what I wanted. Like you just want sometimes, for a lot of times, for women in particular, we just want to feel heard. We want to feel understood. But that for me is the whole mental health kind of conversation. People don't feel heard. And I think that that's what's so great about finding friendship in your life is that I know that I am heard by Melissa, and Melissa knows that she is heard by me. I listen. And, my grandfather has that quote about listening. Most people don't I love to listen. Most people don't listen, and it's true. Like people don't listen, and it's an art. It's a craft. I mean, what's wonderful about my relationship, but my relationship with Melissa is like, I like to listen to her. I learn so much from her, and we do have different belief systems. And I was going to say this when you were talking before, because I think we're in a time where people are not allowed to have conversations anymore that are dissenting in belief, because the minute there's a dissension in belief, then you're on one side and that person's on the other side. And Melissa and I talk about all kinds of things. We don't necessarily agree completely, but we're allowed to have that conversation. And I think we live in a scary world where having a conversation all of a sudden gets interpreted as, oh, you're in that camp or whatever. Right. Whether it's politics or, whatever it is. And I think that's scary. So I think you need those friendships in order to have friendships where you feel heard. And also sometimes having a conversation and having a belief about something at the end of the conversation with somebody you admire and you respect, it changes your perspective, right? But you can't know that until you've had a conversation. Right. But we're not, I don't know. I feel like society doesn't want us to engage in those things if you would all come from different sides of the fence. And I think that's bizarre and sad.
Well, it's a control issue. It's a control issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know that being in a onstage performance, I won't go into details, but I've never done it before. So I am listening intently, not only to the director, I'm listening to everybody else who's got more experience than me, because I don't want to make a mess on stage, having not listened to the experts. And it seems to me like that's what we need to do to with those folks who are hurting and need that space and don't need to be fixed, but need to be listened to. They are the expert in that moment of what they are going through. And that's where we really, especially as guys, we really need to learn to listen to what they're saying, even if it's just, I understand, because sometimes, the guy can understand. Yeah, I've been there. It's happened to me, but you don't explain it to them. You just say, I understand, and you hold them and you comfort them and you let them cry on your shoulder.
And sometimes you don't, and sometimes it's even honest to say, I don't understand. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, I may not understand, but I'm not going to try to
fix
it.
Well,
what I say to my husband, Billy, when I know that I'm going to go into a lengthy soliloquy of what's happened to me and how I want to talk about it, I always say to him, listen, by the way, I give you permission to not have an answer to this. I just need to talk it through. And he's like, and you can just see this kind of like rollback of, oh, thank you, God, because I know sometimes I think he feels this pressure of, okay, she's done this with her mom and this happened with her brother. What should I say? And he doesn't need to. And so I always, when I don't want to hear an answer, I will say, look, I give you permission just to hear me. I need to talk this out. And I think we need to give each other permission. My son is in college and he told me something interesting the other day. As college age kids always do, come back and reveal something unique and new for me. Either my daughter or son has done it. But this time my son said to me that so many of the young girls his age are focusing on kind of this fantasy idea of how life should be. And maybe it's the time when, Mariel, you and I were younger, that it was like the Harlequin romance. Is like if girls who read that and read those books, on how, the guy was going to come in on the white horse with his long flowing hair or whatever. So, but a lot of these girls have this idea based on TikTok or Instagram or whatever social media outlet on how the date is supposed to go. And if the guy doesn't show up with the right flowers and have the right thing. And so there's this disconnect on how they're supposed to be behaving. And I think that in order for us to succeed in this arena of life and with relationships, and so that we can express more gratitude, we need to really kind of give each other a little leeway. And back to that idea of space, Mariel has a safe space with me where she could just be without judgment. And whenever I've been in a disagreement with my husband or a family member or a friend, I found that the best place for me to be oftentimes is to get quiet and give space to whatever the issue is. So it's this grace is what it is, right? So male, female, whatever we're doing in any of our relationships, we offer grace to the other person to just be, instead of them fulfilling this fantasy or this fantastical idea of how we think it's supposed to. And then I cried on his shoulder and he stroked my hair and whatever. We had these ideas that just, they're not working.
You know what was interesting about yesterday and how I had a rough morning and I was driving and it was horrible, like road conditions, and I was scared and, and I wasn't getting what I wanted. And no, whatever. I mean, it was fine. I made it home. Here I am. But I had, I
wanted to be in Malibu.
I did have a moment.
I've been
really cool. It's really snowing. Anyway, but I got over it now. I'm in gratitude again. But we both kind of came to this thing. It was like, because I wasn't getting my needs met by my partner here, but what does that mean? And really, like, he needed to meditate. I needed to meditate. Literally, I needed, or if you don't want to call it that, I needed to be silent. I needed stillness. I needed to quiet my mind. And that's such a wonderful, might be the best kind of, what do you call it? When your advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariel.
Advice you can give anyone.
Sorry, you were no help.
No, I was like, ooh, it's a movie. Was that a movie? No. Well. All right, I'm done.
I was thinking about the time that we've known each other, whether or not we've talked for a year or not. There's still that connection. I feel it anyway. Don't tell me if you don't. You could just your silence will be okay. Time that
you give us permission to be silent.
Just smile and I'll just say the Wi-Fi froze. Think about the time that we first connected, didn't know each other our entire lives, kind of like you, Melissa, you were describing how you met in your later years, which, by the way, is very, very hard to make friends at that point, because you really don't want any more. If you do, you don't probably trust them. Why are you in my life now? What do you want from me? And I don't have enough time. But we came together through this show and through conversation, really, ultimately. And then it was pandemic. It was pre-pandemic. Then it was pandemic. Then it was isolation. Then it's all the things that happen, that in politics and with deaths and the Me Too and the Black Lives Matter and turmoil and isolation, and then back into the world. And here we are back into the world, but we've all changed a lot, all of us, and a lot of anger and a lot of darkness in the world, I think. And I'm not exaggerating, I'm not being dramatic. There is, and there was, and
Oh yeah.
but here's what it sounds like a strange example, but I interviewed a girl named Tom. They've won The Voice last year, and they're two brothers and a sister, and they're very wholesome, and their music is very, back to the 60s folk and Christian, a little bit of Christian, and their fans, I've never seen anything like it. The comments, and I'm getting to my point, the comments from their fans on this interview were all about, you guys are genuine, you are honest, you are a light in the world, you are good people, and the world needs good people. And people use the word gratitude. They had gratitude for these three young kids that are musicians making it. And their popularity, from all that I can read and see, is based on being good people. And so it made me start thinking, in the beginning, when we had these conversations, are these shows exciting? We're not controversial. I don't want to badmouth people. I don't want to gotcha. That's not who we all are here today talking. And so, and the theme of the show has always been, it's got to be positive to me. It's got to be, we've got to put good stuff out there. What I read from these reviews from these people is there were no trolls, and that's crazy.
Wow.
Everybody loved, and everybody said they're good people, and we need good people. It was repeated, and you are good people, and what you're putting out there is good. And what it makes me optimistic and hopeful for is that through all this change and darkness that we've known each other over the 3 years that we've all been through together and the world's been through together, people are seeking out light and talking about the health of their mind, talking about how it affects their body, talking about how we need to get back to treating each other right. So
absolutely,
that's my point. And I want to come back. We got to take a break, but I want to start. I want to tell a couple stories over the year. And I know you guys have some good stories about things that you've been through, either good or bad. What you're grateful for, any extraordinary acts of kindness that you've witnessed or heard about. I find now that I'm grateful for the most simple things. I want to hear what your simple things are. And again, gratitude, we're talking about gratitude, seems to be coming up a lot more in everyday conversations, and I like it. We'll be right back.
All right. 3,
And
2,
I like it.
I like it.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. I am with Mariel Hemingway and Melissa Yamaguchi. We are spending Christmas Eve together, and it's such a good conversation.
So nice.
Mariel, what's a Hemingway Christmas like? I'm going to. I imagine. Here's what I imagine for like a Hemingway Christmas. Sweet smells. Listen to this. This is how I imagine. Honestly,
Okay.
cherry pipe smoke. Okay.
Oh,
Pipes
Like that's-
smoking, that's
There's
not
a cherry
happening.
pie. No, like I'm thinking of your grandfather. I think he comes to mind. The leather, coffee, a wood stove, steam window, like comfy blankets, good books.
He was
Maybe
probably in Havana, Cuba. Like,
okay, none of that. So what I'm imagining for a Hemingway Christmas. What is a Hemingway Christmas like?
I don't think of it as a Hemingway Christmas. I mean, our Christmases are.
Doesn't that sound romantic though? Like
Right.
there should be a Hemingway.
It does.
Everybody
It
should
does.
strive
And
for a Hemingway
and
Christmas.
I live in Idaho, and I live kind of where where Hemingway is king. So it is kind of nice. There's a sleigh ride that goes to the Trail Creek cabin where my grandfather spent time.
Nice.
And
So cool.
we have friends coming up and they're like, you've got to come with us on the sleigh ride and come to the dinner. So we're going to do that. And Bobby hasn't done it before. So that should be interesting. But, I think the best Christmas is the simple Christmas, like it was very funny because I always loved Christmas and all the ritual, the tradition behind Christmas.
Mhm.
And when you have children, like all of a sudden, I believed in Santa Claus far too long. I mean, it was a little out of control. I was like in my 20s,
Tell the
still
truth.
wondering in my
You still
20s,
believe.
still wondering in the middle of the night if maybe there was just some magical something that happened. But then you have children, and then you realize that you are Santa Claus, and life is different. But then the ritual becomes, then you become the magical something that creates this magic for your children, right? And so I've always held on to that kind of silly maybe tradition, but I also think there's something magical about it. It's wonderful to come out and see on the fireplace that the stockings are like lumpy and full, and my mother always put an orange at the bottom because she couldn't figure out what was going to fit there.
That's true.
So you do, and that's how those traditions kind of carry on. But it's I don't know. It's just and it's getting together. My two daughters, who are in their 30s now, are coming for Christmas dinner with their, one with her fiance and a boyfriend are coming, and it's going to be wonderful. This is great. Now we do a lot of childlike things because it's supposed to snow. So we will get the 1979 Ford F-250 pickup out, and we will drag everybody around on a sled,
Wow.
Yeah, I call it hooky bobbing. Everybody thinks I'm crazy when I say that. I thought it was always called,
That's what
other
I
people
call it
say
too.
it's something else. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
See,
Anyway.
I told you a Hemingway Christmas is cool. I knew it was going to be cool.
It is cool. It is cool.
I did it differently,
It is
but it's
cool.
I like yours better. Mariel,
No, I can't find the pipe, but anyway, I'm looking.
I think I just like imagine your grandfather reading
Yeah.
you and a pipe and the fire and all. I don't know. Leather. I don't know. Maybe it's a fishing pole. So, when did your life like significantly improve where you were aware of it? You're like, I'm now, was there a time, a season and what caused that? Do you remember?
I was not always the happiest person, but didn't even realize it
Mhm.
till I wasn't any longer. And meeting, talking about being grateful for somebody. I mean, I'm very grateful for Melissa, but my partner, Bobby, really has always seen me. And when I realized that I was seen by somebody that I was intimate with, and that enabled me to heal some past trauma. We all have
Mhm.
stuff. But I was able to heal some of that in a space where I felt safe and I felt seen and I felt heard. And I think that was the real catalyst to me wanting to start a foundation, is just to I want to create space where others that don't have a significant other who can listen to them, but where they can come and say, I feel very alone, but I think I would like to provide that something for them. I want to give them lots of options.
Mhm.
That's the desire of the foundation, is, again, like you said in the intro, we want to be a resource navigator. We want to have lots of different avenues for people to find a sense of self and a sense of being heard. And whether that takes them to a doctor or a therapist or a yoga class or, a way of eating, whatever it is, because we want to explore all the options to making somebody feel valued And in my I cry. It's so like, sorry.
Mm.
You know, being heard and understood by somebody that you love and that loves you is just, it's invaluable.
Mhm.
And it's actually how I feel about Melissa too. But it's, you know, like Melissa talked about us meeting. I had never had a girlfriend like her. In my entire life. I had friends, of course, but there's always friends that meet a certain need at a certain time. And it's like, okay, that's cool for that. Right? That's my summer friend. Or what, you know, Melissa just kind of met everything at once. And I was like, it was actually overwhelming. Right? And Bobby is that for me too. So
Look at
God bless us all.
we're talking about energies, how we've all had experienced a lot of different energies throughout this conversation, but look at the power of your those are happy tears, and that's the power that just went through you, the emotion that just went through your body to bring that love. Look at what the love just did to you. It just washed you over, so sweet. And God, you guys really have to do your own podcast. Let's just keep doing mine. Can we just keep doing mine? We got to take it.
Can I say one thing before you break off?
We can merge.
Yes.
Can I say one small thing? I want to say something important about Mariel saying cultivating that spirit of Santa, or whatever that magical essence is of the holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate. The reason that it is so important that we nurture that magical spirit and the belief in something else is that it fosters hope. And that is exactly what gratitude does. It fosters hope, and beyond the mundane, beyond what any negative experience you've had, it gives you a belief that something greater is still out there and to come. And so it's purposeful, and it's really important.
Come tomorrow. Mariel Hemingway and Melissa Yamaguchi. Out Comes the Sun is Mariel Hemingway's podcast for addressing mental, physical, and spiritual wellness. She does the podcast with Melissa Yamaguchi, who's also here with us today. I'd love you to, at this break, go to Apple Podcast and type in Out Comes the Sun. It will pop up. There's a little button that says follow. This is really important. It's nice to listen, but follow this. Follow this podcast. Every Thursday, you're going to get a little alert when there's a new episode that pops up, and it's a great tool. It's a great podcast to listen to just stay in that being self-aware and being aware and having intentions and finding tools to help you with that. It is hard. Life is hard, but it's a little easier with Mariel Hemingway and Melissa Yamaguchi and Out Comes the Sun. You can also find Mariel Hemingway and Melissa at Mariel Hemingway's Foundation. And the mission is to assist in navigating mental health treatment and find solutions to meet the needs of individual communities. You can find out more on marielhemingwayfoundation.org. We will be right back.
All right.
Okay, so
final segment.
We've got final segment. I know you guys need to do your show, but I have let me pick out. I had so many questions, and let me just try to find a couple if you don't mind here. And maybe so we've got
so good.
Can we do 7 minutes more with you? And that'll give you 5 minutes. Okay. And so since we only have 7 minutes, I'd love to get through some of I was just building to a lot of these questions here. Maybe we can do, if you don't mind, I hate to censor it all, but just, we'll just kind of not rapidly go through them, but try to get through as many as we can, because I think some of them might be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Cool.
Melissa, you came in close. You went far away.
The phone, my phone started slipping, and I started realizing I was just grateful I had on pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeremiah, I will keep it really brief to comment on something that Mariel talked about.
Yeah,
just real
very brief. Very brief.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. I am with Mariel Hemingway and Melissa Yamaguchi. It's Christmas Eve. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending the night with us. It's a really great conversation. I think it will set off my year much better after today. It's just a good time with the two of you. I've missed you, and welcome back. Dr. D, you had a real quick question for Mariel?
I do. When you started to tear up, you apologized. And I'm going, do you apologize when you laugh? No. And the reason I bring it up is because if we're there for the person who's really going through it, and I've had this happen with my wife, she's crying, I'm so sorry. You don't have to apologize. And I'm wondering if that's a catching point for a lot of folks, because sometimes that gets in the way of us really letting it out and getting rid of it and moving on.
Well, I think, yeah.
I know it sounds.
That's an issue. No, it's an issue. It's an issue for me. I've had an apology problem for a long time. And, my laughter sometimes is an apology. It's trying to make space, like, I don't want to, and that comes from childhood trauma of not wanting to be invasive or be a problem. I don't want to, I wrote a book called Invisible Girl, which was about this girl who really just felt like she was invisible, but I kind of thought it was safer to stay invisible. So that is definitely, yeah, I mean, you caught that, damn you. But I have done that. I've gotten a little bit better. I think Melissa can attest to being a little bit better. Yeah. But, that is an issue. Yeah. And I think it's an issue for a lot of women. I think we feel maybe of my generation, of our generation, where we were brought up to, like, hang out in the background, watch, don't make waves in your house, right? Yeah. Or in your home. And then as you move into the workspace, you got to be careful. It's different for, a different generation, a younger generation. They're not brought up. I didn't raise my girls that way. They don't apologize ever. They say what they want to say and they don't apologize for it. I know Melissa's children are amazing human beings who, they're confident and they don't apologize for their feelings or something. But that is something that I think it might be generational.
Well, I don't apologize, and maybe I don't apologize enough because I am what I am, Popeye. But I think also knowing Mariel, Mariel's, if I may be so brazen as to speak here for you, Mariel grew up in a time in her childhood where she didn't want to make anything more chaotic. God forbid that she would be the source of any kind of chaos or dis-ease for any reason. So the apology, for people who do apologize, male or female, the apology really is, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. So I apologize if my tears make you uncomfortable. It is a learned behavior, but it's also this kind of let me fix this real quickly. And so Mariel has done that. She knows she doesn't need to apologize around me for anything. And it's just, she does, but she doesn't do it as frequently around me because she knows that unconditionally, I don't have any judgment thrown up against her. But I think I know a lot of people do apologize. And you're right, they don't apologize for laughing. Although, let me back up a minute. I have to apologize for my laughter because it's just so damn loud. So oftentimes, when I burst out into one of my big guffaws or yucks in the middle of a quiet ceremony, I have to say, oh, sorry to everybody. So we have the opposite issue.
Like a funeral?
Yeah.
Laughter to me, laughter is one of the maybe the top three things I'm grateful for when I hear it, when I experience it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Melissa, if you could bring anybody back this year for a day, who would it be, and what would you say to them?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I can bring anybody back for a day.
Yeah, you only get one sentence answers too, because we're all running out of time. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be good.
Oh, what a heartfelt answer, really quickly.
Yeah. Go deep.
Quickly.
Yeah, I would be back. I would bring back my great grandmother instantly.
My
My great grandmother, she rode horseback from Indiana through Oklahoma, came through on the Trail of Tears when they were forced through. She was a midwife at the age of 15. She was this amazing 6 foot tall, amazing pillar of strength and a matriarch. And that matriarchal blood has just flowed on down the pipe. And I have so much to ask her about, the energy she had within. And it's a lot of, I see her and sometimes in my meditations, this really tall stoic woman who was so incredibly wise and resilient. And so I would bring her back because I have a million things to ask.
I feel the way you described her that you already did.
Yeah.
How about you, Mariel?
Yeah.
You know, I have to say it's probably, oh yeah, of course you would say this, but I think I would bring my grandfather Ernest back. Number one, because I never got to meet him. You know, my sisters met him, but he took his life, you know, 3 or 4 months before I was born. And I would love to, because I've always felt this like affinity to my grandfather, but it's like a man I didn't know.
Man you never met.
In some ways you feel like, oh, who am I to think that I know this person? And yet I have always felt this really strong feeling like I've been guided. I'd love to know if I was.
Yeah. Have you, because it sounds like you've thought about this. Is there a question? You probably have a billion questions, but is there one that you really would want to know or something you would ask him?
I think there's anything in particular. I would love to know that he's there. You know what I mean? Just that he's there. Yeah.
I'd like to put that to you, Mr. Higgins.
Not yet. It's all about our guests. I have so many great questions that I wanted to ask them, and we don't have the time. But I guess it's not over. Hopefully, we'll see each other again.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
Mariel,
this is awesome.
What's unfinished in your life?
What's unfinished? Interesting question, because I don't think of things as finished or unfinished. I think life is always a journey of completion, right? You're always in the completion of something, right? And you're becoming always, right? So if you're, I mean, probably projects that you'd like to get done, but I always see it as the journey. If I'm at my best self and I realize that every moment is a precious present moment, then the becoming of myself in each moment is really, that is completion, right? So there's no need to finish anything as long as you still see the journey as the finish or whatever.
Anybody ever told you you're very, very wise?
Well, thank you. Thank you. I was going to apologize, but I won't.
No.
Melissa, give me 3 sounds that make you really happy.
Laughter. That sound.
I like your laugh.
Laughter. The other sound that makes me happy is my children talking to each other. They're really good friends, and I think that's a gift.
Yeah,
they really dig each other. So them kind of hanging out, laughing, and talking is that's just nirvana for me. And the third is probably I would say something really esoteric like the sound of silence, but I'm too loud and hyper for that to be it. I'd say my husband. I'd probably say my husband coming home, because he's and not to be too June Cleaver, but I really dig. I dig him a lot. I mean,
simple things.
Yeah, I love
simple
him.
Things.
I admire him, and so I'm always kind of stoked when he. You know, I guess he could turn right and not come in the driveway, but he always elects. He makes that election to come home, and it's always kind of in Japan. He always says Billy's half Japanese, and so he speaks a lot of Japanese, and he'll say "I'm home" in Japanese, and like the dutiful wife I am, always say "Welcome back." And so it's kind of a cool little thing we do.
That's awesome.
I would like to. The only thing that I would ever say,
you need to record that, because I gotta see that stuff.
Yeah, even the bow. Okay,
you don't believe it, huh, Mariel?
The one thing I would say, you asked Mariel what's unfinished. I just want to say one thing that I know for damn sure is finished is me having any more children. That's done.
Sounds like my mom.
All right. Do you have gratitude lists, or have we done them all? Is there anything that you'd like to just give thanks to now that we're wrapping this up? Mariel, do you have? I mean, you've thanked Bobby, your daughters,
I'm going to thank you for giving us this opportunity, because it really is very special, and I think I can speak for Melissa that we are true. I mean, I'm grateful for this. I'm always
me too.
grateful when you have a conversation that goes to a new place or is like an aha in your soul. And that's what life's about. That's the simplicity of having a great conversation where you dug deep and you felt something, and it's just wonderful.
Mhm.
So
I
thank you.
agree. Melissa, any other?
Yeah, aside from my kids and my husband and Mariel, I'm really grateful for my mom. My mom is the world's best cheerleader. I am able to be a good cheerleader to those that I love, Mariel, my husband, my kids, because I learned from the very best. I don't care if my mom's on the side of the road trying to find her leg. She's still on that phone saying, "You've got this, babe." She's just amazing, and I'm really grateful for her. I am. It's consistent.
I'd love to meet her.
Yeah,
Great, and your great grandmother. I want to meet her too. Dr. D, quickly, do you have any? I know our clock is running out with these two.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any? You have a short list for me?
Short list of gratitude.
Anything you want to say?
Basically,
Okay, time's up.
Okay, thank you. Listen more and evolve.
No, seriously. Okay.
No, I will say that this year has the things that I have learned in just this year, and the program that I was in. One of the great messages that was told, and it had to do with the Scottish solstice celebration in 1743. And one of the themes that ran through it early on in the performance was having to do with the old year and the new, and the way that they viewed it in this production. And it was that the old year is tired, it's worn out, we've used it up, and so now we let it go in order to make room for the new year. And I thought, I like that. I've used this year up really, really well in a lot of different ways.
I think we all have.
And
Yes,
it feels good.
Okay, I
It
love
feels
it.
so good.
I
So
love
that's
it.
what I'm going to be grateful for.
Richard, I want to say I'm grateful for you and all the stuff that you do for the show before I forget.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for,
And you're very
for
welcome.
all the
I
hard
love
work
doing
that
it.
you put in the show. Thank you, Mariel and Melissa. Goes without saying, I'm very grateful for you and grateful for this conversation. I'm going to give you my short list here. I can't let it go without just saying that the friendship that we all experience with Anne Heche, I really do appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that I even got to know her or and all of you. That when we came together over a conversation like this, so that's special. I'm so grateful for that interview, Mariel, that you gave me, and of your time and your thoughtfulness, your unselfishness for others, and just the generosity of you. I'm grateful for the support of my mom, who is my best friend. I'm grateful for my sister, my brother, and my niece. I'm really, really happy these days with my bamboo pillowcases. My sheets are so soft. Might be my
that was
favorite.
such a great segue.
I know.
So good though.
Coffee. Love coffee and the smell, especially in the morning.
Me too.
For all
Yeah.
listeners, we have grown so much over the last 10 seasons with you guys, and we're in over 100 countries every week downloaded, and just I looked at, we had over 100 almost 200,000 impressions on YouTube last week. That's not a lot for somebody like Mariel, but for me it is. It's just not, it just says that we're spreading a really good message out there, and I thank you guys for tuning in every week and listening. It brings us together. We share a collective smile, and it makes us keep trying. The hope that Melissa mentioned. Last, I'm really grateful for the listeners in Ukraine. Since we started this show, Ukraine has always been number 1 to number 3 for listeners, and I don't know anybody in Ukraine. When the war started last year, it went dark. There were no Ukraine listeners for about 3 months. They're coming back. And they're the number 3 listeners in Ukraine. I just want to tell you, I hope that you're warm right now. Yes. I hope that you're safe. And I just wanted to thank you all for listening. Okay, that's it. That's the show. I'm going to let you guys go do your podcast. So check it out later tonight. And the podcast from Melissa and Mariel out. I just want to, I'm plugging it one more time. Out Comes the Sun is the podcast. Don't forget to follow it. Communicate. listen more and evolve. And everybody have a great Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And we